On a random Tuesday evening, Saban, a young Muslim woman, was sitting on her sofa when an absolutely insane 2 minutes happened. She had just returned from the mosque and, like many deeply committed Muslims, she followed her faith and religious practices devoutly. Saban had a strict routine and claimed to have never sinned since becoming serious about her religion, striving to live a life that was both spiritually fulfilling and morally upright. However, despite all the good deeds she did in the name of Allah, she found herself grappling with an unusual and terrifying presence, one that she couldn't explain. As she sat down to relax, what unfolded in her living room seemed almost impossible to believe.
Is dit allemaal? Ik vind het helemaal niet leuk. Ik ben dus helemaal alleen. Oh, dat ding. Oké, ik ga hier weg. Oh, er gebeurt allemaal te veel in mijn huis.
Suddenly, all sorts of objects began to move around the room, seemingly by themselves, as if an unseen force was at play. The most alarming of these was her lucky goblet. This wasn't just any cup, it had a deep personal significance for Saban. She only allowed herself to drink from the goblet when she was about to do something potentially dangerous, believing it would give her the protection and clarity needed to handle the situation. This was a ritual she'd adhered to for years. The fact that the ghost or entity tampered with her lucky goblet was deeply unsettling. After ending the video in shock, she immediately turned to prayer, invoking Allah for protection. To her relief, her prayers were answered, and she never experienced anything like it again. Was this a test of faith, or was it a malicious demon trying to torment her? The truth remains a mystery, and Saban, perhaps wisely, decided not to delve too deep into it. We can only wonder. Now, let's shift gears and talk about Arash Afnan, a man we've featured before in our explorations of paranormal encounters. Arash is an Indian man who created a TikTok account to document his growing collection of paranormal experiences. His first real encounter with the supernatural occurred a few years ago, when strange things started happening in his home. Doors would open and close by themselves, and objects would sometimes fall with no apparent cause. This bizarre occurrence became a regular feature of his life, and over time, it only escalated. While Arash has a decent social media following, mainly due to the dramatic nature of these strange happenings, it is clear that the experiences are not without their toll. The video we're about to look at is one that Arash posted 7 months ago. It was filmed from the perspective of Arash's young son, Raj, who, for reasons of his own, became a target for paranormal activity. Raj had a deep attachment to a pink teddy bear, which he carried with him everywhere. However, Raj's classmates at school would often make fun of him for carrying a girly toy. They ridiculed him for being overly feminine, and it caused Raj significant distress. His attachment to the teddy was so strong that when he lost it, he would throw tantrums, and his mood would shift drastically. One day, the inevitable happened. Raj lost his teddy.
Bising. Nak tidur pun tak boleh. Hantu punya setan. Mana kau sorok? Kau lapar nasi ke setan? Bisinglah lagi. Ada dua setan. Duduk diamlah. Apa lagi ni?
What followed was not just a search for the stuffed animal, but a terrifying paranormal event. As Raj frantically searched the house for the bear, strange things began happening. The house seemed to shake, the air itself vibrating as if some unseen entity was upset by the loss. Raj, after managing to calm down and check under the sink, found the teddy again, only for it to disappear once more when he opened the cabinet again. Off camera, Arash and Raj searched every corner of the house, but the teddy was nowhere to be found. It wasn't until Arash checked the undersink cabinet once again that he found it. However, this discovery did little to reassure them. Raj, seemingly in a trance, walked slowly into the dining room, clutching the teddy bear to his chest with a strange intensity. This behavior was out of character for Raj, who was usually a lively, expressive child. Arash, concerned, tried to talk to Raj for several minutes, but Raj barely responded. His blank stare and lack of emotional reaction were unsettling. Finally, after several long minutes, Raj snapped out of the trance and claimed that he had no memory of what had just happened. He couldn't explain his strange behavior. His father, in a voice full of concern, speculated that Raj had been possessed by some malevolent force, and although Raj's claim of possession might sound extraordinary, the experience was enough to send a chill down anyone's spine. Chris and Mick are a duo that thrives on their excellent chemistry. Their ability to make people laugh, no matter how dark the situation, is something they pride themselves on. The duo has built a following based on their ability to face down fear with humour, but they weren't always able to make light of every situation. They are no strangers to the supernatural, and they've managed to capture strange and eerie occurrences on camera. One of their most popular videos came when they decided to visit a supposedly haunted church, despite the fact that no one knew why it was thought to be haunted in the first place. They knew the stakes were high, but they took on the challenge anyway, confident that the video would provide their fans with yet another piece of paranormal content. With their wit and humour in tow, they ventured into the church, prepared for whatever might come. What they experienced was strange, to say the least.
Go on then, Mick. Now you don't fall over, son. I thought you were going to say it was locked there. I would have shit me pants. I'd have had skid and didders all over me uni bedundies. There we go, folks. Yeah. Well, like I say, I'm not scared, and I'm not one of these people that get a shiver up the spine or things like this. To me, it's not spooky, but we'll still have a look around. For you legends that like to watch the Blot Outdoor Show. Alright, isn't it? Cool. Cool place. I wouldn't want to sit here all night like, but like I say, guys, it's been abandoned since the 1970s. Obviously, they must leave the door open now and again. The fuck? The fuck's it? I'm out of here. Sorry, guys. What the fuck was that? Oh, I think Mick's filled his pants. I get skin in my didders on me dundies. I think Mick's got a lug of a jugger in his only pedandies.
I've got a hole in them, like, hole. Nice big hole.
That's the fastest I've ever seen you run. It was probably, do you know what it probably was? It was just like, it's open, you've probably got like birds getting in and something's being knocked off or something. I don't know. That's what I'm telling myself, guys. But yeah, like I said, things like that don't normally scare me. But when you hear a bang somewhere like that, and I've been reading about how spooky the place is supposed to be, but I've convinced Mick to have one more look inside this so-called haunted church. Go on then, Schmick.
Nah, you ain't got closer.
Well then. Oh well, I'll go on first. Right, Mick, you follow me. I think the first time we came in, I think we just let our imaginations run away with ourselves, which is easy when you're in the pitch black and you're having a few beers. Just leave that door open, Mick. I've got to be honest, it does have a little bit of a spooky kind of feel to it. I think that's because what we've been reading, and it's genuine, it has been abandoned since the 1970s. By abandoned, I mean it doesn't get used anymore for like services or burials or anything like that. But yeah, now that we've came in and we've studied for a few seconds, I feel kind of chilled now. Are you chilled out, Mick? Yeah. However, let's have a mooch around. I said to Mick, we'll have one more look in here and then later on we'll do the room review. Little Mick says, well, we'll have a look around, but we'll do the room review back over there. I've kind of had to persuade him to come back in. I mean, I can see why people come here, Mick, and do the old spooky, ghostly tours and look for the paranormal readings and stuff like that. It's not my kind of thing. My kind of thing is sitting in a tent and getting mangled, spangled, and totally grim crankled. But each to their own, wherever your hobby is. Let's have a look over here, Schmick. Oh, here we go. We've got a photograph of young Chris here. Oh, sorry guys. It's not young Chris. Apologies. It's Jesus Christ. Our the son.
Milky buttons there.
Yeah, milky buttons. What? What the What? Mix away. Ooh, shut that door. What the?
The church was abandoned, and the two were the only ones there. The atmosphere was tense, yet Chris and Mick managed to keep things light-hearted, even when they felt the weight of the eerie environment pressing down on them. It was when one of the large doors of the church slammed shut, on its own, that the mood shifted. The sudden, violent action was enough to unsettle anyone, but here's the kicker: there was no wind. Nothing else in the church moved, yet that door slammed with a force that was undeniable. There was no logical explanation, and while the two laughed it off at the time, there was an undeniable feeling that something, or someone, was watching them. Now, let's take a journey to Puerto Rico, where a tragic event left its mark on a once bustling hotel called the Dupont Plaza. The hotel, which operated in the 1980s, was the site of a massive fire in 1986. This fire was no ordinary blaze. It was catastrophic, claiming the lives of many people who were trapped inside. The blame for the fire was placed on 3 employees, but the true cause remains shrouded in mystery. Despite the horrific loss of life, The building itself was surprisingly still standing. Over the years, it was sold to several different owners. Today, it operates as the Marriott Stellaris, but the hotel's grisly past is far from forgotten. In fact, this next clip may make you think twice about booking a room there. Captured at 3 a.m. by a hotel security camera, the footage shows a guard walking alone through an area of the hotel that was rarely visited. Unaware of the building's horrific past, she went about her routine, thinking nothing of it. But then, something unexplainable occurred. As the guard passed through one of the hallways, she felt someone, or something, tug at her hair. Startled, she turned around, thinking it was just one of her co-workers playing a prank. But after reviewing the footage, she realized there was no one there. The hair-raising moment was not a simple prank, but an encounter with something far more sinister. In the next clip, we meet a woman who was trying to protect her home from an evil spirit. Armed with sage, a method believed to banish negative energy and spirits, she made her way around the house, hoping to purify the space. She carefully moved through each room, chanting prayers and waving the sage. But as she reached the kitchen, things took a turn.
Leave us alone, once and for all. Leave this house. We're sick of you messing with us. Sick of you messing with us.
It started innocently enough. A trash can toppled over. The woman shrugged it off, thinking it was nothing more than a coincidence. However, as she was about to leave the kitchen, she noticed something else. A basket, seemingly on its own, followed her, tipping over in an almost deliberate manner, but nothing compared to the chaos that ensued once she exited the room. As soon as she left, objects in the house began to move on their own, thrown around by an unseen force. This spirit, clearly displeased by the woman's efforts to banish it, made its feelings very clear. Unfortunately, this was the only footage captured, so we don't know what happened afterward. But one thing is for sure, it's not a good sign, especially considering the presence of a baby in the house. Now, let's talk about gamers. I'm one of them, so I can say with confidence that sometimes we take things a little too far. There are those moments where we make jokes that are better left unsaid. In this case, an Asian man filming his investigation into a haunted location made the mistake of referring to the spirit he was encountering as an NPC, a term that means non-playable character in the gaming world. It didn't take long for the spirit to take offense.
有人吗？里边？NPC 啊，我你老板。哎呦我操你妈！哎呦我操你妈！出来！出来！ 出来来，出来，是谁？谁？谁？四爷。
The man, intrigued by movement behind a curtain, chased what he thought was a spirit. For a full minute, he followed it, only to realize he was chasing nothing at all. It was unsettling, but what followed would make him regret his playful comments even more. He entered a bathroom, checked every corner, and found it to be completely empty. But just as he was about to leave, he caught sight of something through the bathroom door, a pair of legs, standing still at the bottom of the stall door. There was no one else in the room. The legs seemed to belong to an invisible entity, one that was all too happy to reveal itself when the man dared to make light of its presence.
有人吗？我操你妈呀！这写什么字儿？ 最怕的是惊人。啊！操你！啊！操你！ 我操！我去你妈的！哎，我操你妈！我操你妈，脚丫子！
On April the 12th, 2024, a man named Rob was out on a walk with his dog in a park during the perfect spring weather. The conditions were ideal, not too hot, not too cold, just perfect for an afternoon stroll. This was a ritual for Rob and his dog, one they repeated almost daily. They always stopped at the same spot to take in the beautiful view of the lake, a tranquil moment that was always a welcome break. However, on this particular day, something was different. As Rob and his dog arrived at their usual checkpoint, the dog began acting strangely, growling and looking uneasy. Rob, concerned but unsure of what was wrong, reviewed the footage he had taken of their walk. It was then that he saw it, a figure floating above the lake, a spirit apparition that appeared almost translucent. Rob hadn't seen it in person, but the footage didn't lie. The sight of the figure was enough to send chills down anyone's spine, especially considering the serene nature of the location. Finally, we move on to a video captured by Channel 5, a reliable British network known for its investigative programs. One of their most popular shows follows police officers in action, capturing thrilling high-speed chases and crime-fighting drama. However, one episode in particular took a sharp turn into the supernatural. The clip I'm about to show you is one of the strangest things to happen on the job.
The runaway carves across the carriageway
Stand by, it's going off.
and calls it a day.
Don't get out, You running?
You're nicked. Or you should be.
Where is he?
There's no one outside, no one behind the wheel, and the van is locked.
Where's he gone?
It's magic.
He's in the back. He's in the back. He stopped to think he's hiding in the back. There's no one in the driver or passenger seat, and no one's decamped that we can see. We need to get in, mate. Yeah, mate, I'm going to smash window in a sec.
The best knock-knock jokes have smashing punchlines. But the joke's on Dan and Rob.
No. Eh? No. No one jumped out?
It's a classic locked van mystery.
Weird.
There's just one explanation.
Must have decamped. You know, the woodland track.
It shows a police officer approaching a van, expecting to find the driver inside. But when the officer checked the van, there was no sign of the driver. The only logical explanation, according to the officer, was that the driver must have decamped, meaning they'd exited the vehicle suddenly and secretly. However, a search of the area yielded no trace of the driver. The van had been under surveillance the whole time, so there was no way the driver could have escaped in under a second. This led to one conclusion: it was the work of a ghost, a mystery that remains unsolved to this day.